Welcome back to this video series on how you can scale your Amazon KDP business well beyond the 10K a month mark. In part 1, we debunked the myth that 10K a month is the limit and introduced the power of branding. Part 2 showed you how to construct a brand that stands the test of time, diving into niche selection and quality content creation. Today, we're unlocking the next level, harnessing the power of outsourcing, automation, and setting up systems that can work tirelessly for you. You clicked on this because you're ready to scale, and scale we will. From hiring quality editors to automating your publishing process, I'm laying down the secrets that transformed my business. In my over 8 years of self-publishing on Amazon KDP, I have 2 specific sentences that have gotten stuck in my brain. The first one is, work on your business, not in it. And the second one is, work on things that make the boat go faster. What this means when it comes to self-publishing is that we don't want to do everything ourselves if we want to be able to scale effectively. The reasoning behind this is that your time has a different value depending on the task that you're working on. If you're working with formatting the book and you can hire someone for $5 an hour to do book formatting for you, then you're valuing your time as a self-publisher at $5 an hour. On the flip side, when you're working on things that will grow your income, such as researching a topic, publish a book in, making a strategic plan for your upcoming brand, or creating compelling book titles with unique selling points, then your time becomes a lot more valuable because not everyone is able to do that as it requires a specific skill set. Even learning, if you're at the beginning stages, can be worth a lot, especially if you're taking action on what you're learning. However, it's not a bad idea to start off doing things yourself, because if you know how to do the task, you can easily correct others when they're making mistakes. For example, in the beginning, I wrote some books, did the formatting, and did almost all other steps involved in the publishing process as well, except for cover creation. So now we know that to scale, we should consider focusing on hiring other people to do tasks in the business that aren't of exceptional importance. If you're a phenomenal writer with a specific knowledge about a topic, then writing the books yourself might be a high leverage activity, but usually things such as book formatting never is. Here's my approach to hiring people. Some people have different styles, but I will tell you why I like this approach after hiring hundreds of freelancers. I always aim to hire up to 5 people for the task I'm looking to hire for. The reasoning behind this is that people can talk a good talk, but when it comes to delivering, some people are more prone to either make excuses or not live up to their words. Therefore, by seeing their actual work, we can look beyond their words and instead judge them by their actions and results. Usually when I do this, 4 out of 5 will fall off, and I'll discover one that is worth keeping. I mentioned in the previous video that having an editor can play a crucial role. Here's one trick I like to use when hiring an editor. You could easily adjust this one a bit and make it fit for other roles that you're hiring for as well. I create a document that I've intentionally put errors in. Some of these will easily be caught by the editor if he's using a software such as Grammarly. However, I also aim to put some sentences that don't make sense or that are factually incorrect. So in essence, things that won't be caught by a software, but rather require human attention and judgment. By doing this, I'm able to see which editor of the 5 test hires that paid the most attention. If we want to be able to let go of some control and work on the business instead of in it, we need people who are able to think for themselves. For instance, I hired people who were very good at performing step-by-step tasks, but as soon as something changed or didn't make sense, they wouldn't be able to adapt, resulting in errors in the final work. Therefore, if we want a sustainable system that can work by itself, we need people on our team who at least will alert us if there's something that doesn't make sense. When it comes to hiring, I also like the idea of hiring slowly but firing quickly. I try to make C players into A players, but I've never had success with it. On the flip side, one of my best hires started off from what was a very simple data entry task. I quickly noticed that she did a job well and fast, so I started to give her more complicated work, which she nailed as well. I told her early on not to take on any work from other clients, and at one point, I almost had to invent work just to keep her occupied. The more you scale, the more efficient you will have to be with your time, because there will always be things to work on. But by applying the 80-20 rule that states that 20% of your actions will lead to 80% of the results, you'll be able to identify where your time is most valuable. At one point in my journey, I realized that I was spending a lot of time simply managing my writers. My editor was unfortunately too busy to take on more responsibility, so I felt stuck, as that would have been the best solution as she was the one providing the revision requests to the writer. If I could only get her to handle the communication with the writers as well, then everything would become much more efficient, as I would be able to step away from being the middleman, and the writer would also have a much harder time not responding to the request of the editor, as they would have to debate directly with the source if they didn't think that something should be done in the way the editor requested. Then I asked myself, what have I seen in my own publishing journey, but also in other people's publishing journey when they go all in? Their business inevitably grows. So I thought, why don't I do the same for my editor? That's when I offered her to come on full-time, and I matched the payment that she got from a full-time job. It was a scary decision to make, as it greatly increased the monthly expenses, but I knew that in the long run, this decision would be the one thing that would allow me to continue to work on the business instead of in it. So when we reach the end of part 3 of this video, I'd like to ask you the following question. What can you do to work more on the business instead of in it? What systems can you put in place to avoid having to be the middleman? I'm a big fan of setting up folders where people can work, where people can upload and download files so they don't have to send emails or messages back and forth, which ultimately can take up unnecessary time. You yourself might find that a workspace such as Slack works better. Whatever it is, focus on minimizing unnecessary communication and aim to make your process from idea to having a bestseller on Amazon more streamlined. But wait, the video series on scaling beyond 10K a month isn't over yet. We still haven't covered diversification, because after all, as your income grows, you might not want to be putting all your eggs in one basket, as that could pose unnecessary risk. So in the next video, we'll be discussing publishing on different platforms, and I'll give you a hint on which one I think is on the rise based on my recent income reports. So hit the subscribe button and don't miss out on information that can take your publishing business to the next level.